Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am Pam Myers, your host of Three Essential Questions, New Mexico's business and nonprofit podcast. And my wonderful co host is the always fabulous Erica Yoakum. And we are here today with Reverend Liz. You know what? I should have asked how do you pronounce your last name, Liz?
It's Luoma.
Luoma. Okay, I should have
That's it.
asked that, and I didn't want to.
It's nice that it's exactly like how it's spelled. That's very cool.
Yes. And so you are the Reverend for the Unity Church of Santa Fe, right? And the
Yes.
Unity movement was started back in 1889, but you've not been around that long.
No,
I feel like it some days, but none of us have. Yes.
So how long has the Unity Church in Santa Fe been in existence, and how long have you been there? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, we just had the 47th birthday anniversary of Unity Santa Fe, which we usually do in August. And that's when it became incorporated. It was a study group for a few years before that. I arrived here at the end of 2021, became their minister in December 1st, 2021. So it's been about 2.5 years, a little over that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And you are the only Reverend in the church, right? I mean, you pretty much, do you run the show? I mean,
I am the show runner in many, many ways.
Love it.
Yeah. And you have lots of programs going on. I mean, you have Sunday service, but you have things going on all during the week as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to talk about Unity Santa Fe. Is that cool?
Yes.
Because we actually are not a religion, and we are not religious. We're about spirituality, and I think we more resemble quantum physics than we do anything, because we look at everything as energy, because everything is energy. And it's how do we raise the vibration of our internal feelings. And if I'm sad or depressed or angry, what are the tools that I can use to get myself into a higher vibration of love and joy and peace and harmony? So that, to me, is more about what we're about. We're not about polarities, right and wrong. We don't believe in sin, which some people are like, what? And it's like, no, we believe everyone is an individualized, unique expression of divine love, here to remember who we are. And that everyone remembered that we were the divine. How would we behave? How would we be with ourselves and with one another? Knowing love is the highest vibration. So we are diverse. We call ourselves the community different. I have another T-shirt that says we are unapologetically inclusive. We honor
I
all
like
beings.
that.
Unapologetically inclusive. Everyone is welcome. We welcome anyone from any tradition. There is no dogma. There's no do's and don'ts. We're just here to honor one another and to love and lift each other up and be a community. Like I said, we're not religious. We give tools, there's affirmative prayer, or there's meditation, there's listening. We have 26 service teams at Unity Santa Fe. That just blows my mind.
What's a service team? What does that mean?
They're sacred service. So we have like a flower team. We have a community action team, which decides different nonprofits in Santa Fe that they're going to make a collection to. We have a big box by the front door, and every month it's a collection for a different nonprofit. Sometimes it's clothing or food or baby items or animal pet items for the homeless. And it's just wonderful. And so we have all these teams that Earth Care team that is up and growing. We have a pet ministry. There's just so many things that we do have happening You asked about Sunday services.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't even call us a church, because even though we have services on Sunday morning and they resemble church, I do not see us as anything like a traditional church. When I say unity, I don't say Unity Church. I don't say Unity Center. I just say plain old unity without the extra on it. So we do have services, 10:30 in the morning. We have music, and we do our music. I'm also the music leader or the director.
Mm-hmm.
So we pick out songs like Miley Cyrus's The Climb. We have, just your contemporary songs that most people know, some Beatles tunes, and just
Of
fitting.
course.
Our services are tailor-made. It's like the music will support the message, and the message is all in one big loving package of joy to connect with each other. And it's usually a lesson, and I'm a queen of acronyms. How do I get through this confusion or decision making? And so I give a talk, and there's a lot of humor and laughter and interaction with our group. Tuesday nights, we have a meditation group every Tuesday at 5:30, and it's beautiful. Our communications guy puts this big, beautiful picture up on the screen and this music, and you just dissolve into this beautiful space. We also have healing services, energy healing, and that's always on the first and third Sundays right after the service. We clear out the sanctuary, and people who are trained, people stay, and they love this, and they just stay in this quiet, darkened sort of place, and in their hands, and they just do this energetic healing, which is, so many people love doing that because they can feel that shift.
Right.
Yeah, we have grief and loss group every month on Zoom. It's the first Friday of the month at 12 o'clock with me. We just have all kinds of things going on. And it's one of the things we have also that I think is unique. It's called Soul Circles. And 3 times a year, we have people that say, yes, I'd like to have an activity that I like to do that I would like to invite others to do. For instance, I would like to have people to read this book with me, and let's talk about it. Or maybe I like to go, and for me, I set one up, and it was called Fun Dates with Rev Liz. I wanted some playmates. So we had 4 Fridays. Once we went to a movie. We went to the mini donkey farm. We went on a scavenger hunt. So it's whatever you like to do. Maybe you like to go out for a meal and you'd like company. And people sign up, and they get to know each other in small groups, which I think is a bonus, because on a Sunday morning, it's more of an event. And people stick around, though, for food, because there's always food there, and they talk. But to have a small group of, let's say, maybe 3 to 10 people that meet for about 6 weeks, that's where the relationships start to grow.
Right. Right. Wow. I love what you are doing. And this is, I mean, I didn't know even half of this. So I love hearing it. And did you create this whole program, or was this how it's always been?
Some of it's been the way it's been. However, I really have learned to tune into my intuition, which I call my higher power. In fact, that's how I run my life. I listen to the voice within. I have practiced. Tell me, there was times years back I was like clueless, and I just kind of did things whatever. But I'm trusting now that there is guidance from within me. And we believe that everybody has guidance, and it's like, how do you tune in to that K-Love channel? Because it's either going to be K-Love or K-Fear.
Right.
and we give tools on how I can redirect my mind with a new thought. We're actually part of the New Thought movement,
Mhm.
which was started back in the days of Emerson and Thoreau. And New Thought basically stands for, if I have a new thought, I can therefore, and repeat that sometimes, because we have subconscious beliefs that are actually running our lives, like a computer with a virus.
Mhm.
And so we want to pull those out and replace with a new way of thinking, because our thoughts, I believe there's this thing called your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to actions, and your actions lead to results. But it starts in here. So if I have a new thought, I can have a new experience. And
Mhm.
that's our teaching in a nutshell. I mean, Jesus, we see Jesus not as a savior, but as a great metaphysician who was doing his best to teach people. He was the example of what he can do, we can do too, if we follow these universal metaphysical laws that we don't know about unless we're engaged in a place like Centers for Spiritual Living or Unity.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Are there
That's a
well,
lot. My brain is I'm cogitating over here. I got more.
yeah, because you're unusually quiet, Eric.
I know. I'm like, I'm over here thinking. I'm just thinking. Don't worry.
Yeah. What are your biggest challenges with what you do, Liz?
You know, I actually don't have many challenges. I am actually in my ideal dream community. I
Wow.
couldn't have imagined such a wonderful group of people. I have been in communities that it was good in some arenas and challenging in others. But
Mhm.
here, I pretty much get to do what I do because believe we have high level of emotional and spiritual intelligent people.
Mhm.
They can do their thing. They know how to communicate. They know how to take responsibility. They know how to own their own stuff. There's no blame or shame. And may I say, there's no drama. I'm like, okay, thank you, Great Spirit, for this manifestation of this community that lives and talks. And we call our service teams love in action. And they are love in action. Another thing that Unity does, which I instigated this part, is that 10% of all the donations that come in. Now, we have what is called a tithing philosophy, which 10% of what comes in goes back out to where you're spiritually fed, is the official place of. And how that used to be, there's 4 Unity umbrella organizations: Silent Unity, Unity Worldwide, and a couple others. And they would always take that 10%, divide it into 4, and send a check every month. Well, this is a change here that people are so thrilled with. And what we're doing is we're still giving checks to those 4 organizations, which in my mind, they're all receiving checks, those 4 organizations, from all the unities.
Mhm.
So we are giving a lesser amount to each of them. However, we take 1 or 2 of the Santa Fe nonprofits, whom
Oh.
I believe are their own ministry, and we ask them to come in to give a 2-minute presentation on a Sunday morning about their organization. So there's education, plus the community knows that when they give, they're not just giving to Unity Santa Fe, they're giving to these organizations that are doing their good work in the world. And we hand them a check for $400 or $500, you know, and we do that on a consistent basis. And that's what I think makes us also different.
Yes, that's a wonderful service that you're providing, for lack of a better term. Um,
Yeah. Wow. And so, how long have you been a reverend?
I got, well, that's, we could go all day into a story. I actually was called into the ministry at age 19.
Wow.
Yeah. And basically, I was the biggest partier of my senior class. Um, That was in the Harbor High newspaper for the seniors, right? It said, biggest partier of the senior class. Didn't say Reverend. Said Liz Luoma. So I was this big partier, but at 19, I wanted to find out what is the purpose of life, because being stoned was the only time I was happy. So is there a purpose? And I ended up going to a church. I started reading some New Testament. I didn't have any background in church. Nature was probably my connection to spirit. And through reading and saying, if this was true, then what? A lot of it I didn't buy into, but the idea that somebody would give their life for me, now that blew my mind. It was like, no, there's no more love in the world. So I knew that life was about unconditional love. Now I needed to learn how to love myself unconditionally. And that's been my quest, because I can only love others to the degree I love Liz. And I have done my shadow work. I love my shadow, by the way, because my shadow, there's a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And every aspect of ourselves has a purpose and is there for a purpose. And when I can embrace and look at my lower vibrational selves, anything that is low vibration is a call for love. We're either coming from love or we're calling for love. It's basic.
That makes sense. Right.
So I ended up going to a Christian college for a year. And, but I had a crush on 3 women in my dorm. So I didn't know what to do with that. So I didn't do anything with it. And I didn't go back, because I went back to my dad's grocery store where I was working and fell in love with a woman that we ran away to live happily ever after. Well, that didn't last as much as that one. So I basically put God or spirit or the divine on a shelf. Yet it couldn't leave me, because it actually in truth is me. So every once in a while I'd hear this voice saying, well, you can say F you, right, to spirit, and it can only love. It is only love. It doesn't judge. And I started reading a book called The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. And as I'm reading it, I remember writing down, I don't know shit. This was age 23. And that's when I believe Spirit said, now I can work with you.
Okay.
So I ended up being in different professions. I moved to California as a professional forklift driver.
Wow.
And age 28, and my best friend, while I was getting on the plane, handed me Shirley MacLaine books. I started to read these books. I didn't know that there was organizations that thought, in fact, people like Marianne Williamson, Return to Love, actually got me in the door to one of these organizations. I was reading these books and going, my best friend is Marianne Williamson, because she speaks in a way that I get. And I don't know anybody else except the people, my women friends at the bar, right? And I gave the book to a woman I was dating, and she called the number in the back. What possessed her must have been spirit. But she said, Marianne Williamson is speaking at the Huntington Beach Church of Religious Science. You want to go? And that was in January of 95. So I went, and then I went back, and I realized I'd found home after 15 years of wandering in the wilderness.
Wow.
Nice.
And I started doing my studies, and it's taken me different places. And here I am.
Wow.
Blessed to be in, I love Santa Fe. My other love is Lake Tahoe. That was my first ministry.
Okay. Yeah.
We were on the lake, and we also had snow up the kazoo.
Right. You were there when that huge storm hit a couple of years ago, right? And you had like huge drifts.
Yeah, there was 10 feet in front of my door, because we'd get 3 feet of snow, but then the entire roof would avalanche off. And then I had 10 feet of snow. I have photos that actually my roommate, Daniel, and his girlfriend would go out, and there wasn't a place to put the snow anymore. So they made blocks of snow, took a squirt bottle, and a picture is worth 1,000,000,000 words.
Right.
We had a tunnel that we could walk in and out because he created a tunnel, a snow tunnel that the snow would fall onto. And we could walk in and out. And that's how I survived that winter.
Wow.
But my wife at the time, my wife to be, was in the Bay Area. And she said she didn't do mountains or snow. So I traveled to her place pretty much weekly. And then our leases came up and we moved to Sacramento so that we could be together without all that snow.
Right. Right.
Yeah. No thanks. I don't. I'm with her. I don't do snow either.
Yeah. Now, you have a nickname that somebody gave you.
Well, I have been known as Reverend Yippee Doo for a long time. I don't know, probably 20, 25 years. I've been known as Reverend Yippee Doo. And what actually at our service, because we have a service, we have music, we have a little collection and some candle lighting. And at the very end, I do a little benediction and we're in a big circle. So I say, you're invited to repeat after me. And I always start off with, I'm so happy and grateful. Everybody says, I'm so happy and grateful that I learned how to be the light of the world that I already am. And they all say that. And I say a couple more affirmative phrases, and a lot of times they're actually funny. And then at the very end, I say, and so it is. They all say, and so it is. And then I say, yippee doo. And they all say yippee doo. And then I say, yippee done. And they say, yip done. And we basically are yippee doo and yippee done. And they all laugh. And my goal is that I am here in my ministry to lift, shift, and gift people into the highest vibration that they already are. And if you say yippee doo and yippee done and you're not feeling a little higher than when you walked in, I think we need to do some play therapy.
Right.
And speaking of, last year I did a couple of heavy duty talks. One of them was the LGBTQ, because I'm here to raise, in fact, our mission statement is to raise consciousness, which transforms life, heal the planet, one person at a time, beginning with me. So I do talks on LGBTQ, and there's a lot of people that don't know what's going on. So I educate. The next time I did one on Earth care, and I didn't realize that only 6% perhaps of the plastic is recycled. So I'm talking some heavy duty things. And after that, I was like, okay, we need to lighten up. So I did a talk called Spiritual Play as a Spiritual Practice.
Okay.
I'm throwing toys off of the stage. And at one point, everybody had a piece of paper and they were to draw something funny. And then we all made paper airplanes. And by the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we had about 65 paper airplanes flying through the sanctuary.
Oh, wonderful.
This is a community different. I bet you another communities do that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets to read everybody else's paper airplane kind of thing, or
They could if they wanted to. Usually they're about done by then. It's like, let's go have some get together time afterwards. And, I try to keep my talks into a ministers don't love to talk, by the way. Yeah, right. Try to get it down to about 20, 25 minutes.
Is that a challenge?
It has been, but I'm getting better. Less is more, to be honest.
Right.
Then sometimes I've been wanting to I have all this to give. And it's like, pull back. Maybe make 2 talks out of it instead of 1,
right.
And make them want to come back because they weren't overloaded.
Exactly. Always leave them wanting more, right?
There you go.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing everything that you're doing. It's really remarkable and wonderful. And Santa Fe is lucky to have you.
And I'm lucky to have Santa Fe, so it's a mutual love affair.
Good.
I'm gonna throw your email address up here. So it's revliz@unitysantafe.org, and people can reach out to you there and find out more. unitysantafe.org is the website, so folks can go find out more information and reach out to you if they have questions.
Absolutely. And this has been fun. I'm sure it was entertaining to some degree. I call it edutainment.
There you go.
Right. Absolutely.
We love that. Thank you.
We might borrow that.
Absolutely. It's to be shared. Well, thank you again so much.
You are so welcome, Liz. Thank you very much for joining us. And thanks everybody for listening.
Yippee-doo.